Oh yes. Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new Chrisyboy182 YouTube video. In today's video we are taking the Mercedes Benz SLK280 out for a drive. We're going to let that big V6 engine absolutely sing and we're going to have some fun today. About a month or so ago I took delivery of this car and I showed you guys everything about it. And now today we're going to go out for our first drive on camera and I'm going to basically show you guys what it can do, what I like about it, and we're just going to have some fun. Now you might remember a year ago I bought the Now you might remember a year ago I bought the Volkswagen Polo and we took it out for a first drive video, and to this day that is the best car video and the best performing video I have ever done on cars. So we're going to try that again today with the Mercedes. We've got about half a tank of fuel and we're just going to go out for a nice drive, and I'm just going to show you everything about this car and what it can do and just how nice it is. Now this isn't technically my first drive as such. I have driven this car a bit. I've driven about 200 miles in it so far and I'm absolutely loving it. 81,800 miles on the clock as it currently stands. So what we're going to be doing is just going out for a drive. It's got basically every different type of road you could ask for. Some nice sort of fast 70-mile-an-hour roads where we can really punch the car, and then we've got some like more windy, twisty roads that are still quite fast. So we're going to really get a good feel for this car. I'm currently driving it in sport. So we're currently driving it in an automatic mode with sport, but that is completely fine for most everyday driving and still a hell of a lot of fun, because this car does have automatic kickdown, which I'll explain in a little bit when we get onto a faster road, which is where the car automatically drops a couple of gears depending on how far you depress the accelerator. Now I'm going to be going out there and I'm going to be really showing you exactly what that does, and hopefully we can get some good engine sounds, because I've got another camera set up behind me that should be able to showcase the sounds. So we're coming up to a roundabout, and this car is perfect for roundabouts because that little bit of speed you can get on pretty easy. There we go, absolutely beautiful. Now this is one of those cars where I suppose, now this is one of those cars I suppose you could consider it a bit of a sleeper car. So not in the sense that it's modified under an original build, but this is the same chassis that they use in the 1.8 litre version and up to the 3.5 litre V6, and I suppose technically the much bigger V8 engine as well. But most people think this is just a boring sort of a roadster that's luxury and isn't very fun to drive. It feels a bit like a boat according to a lot of people, and it's a bit of a hairdresser's car. So obviously that's the same with the TT, they call it a hairdresser's car. But from experience, once you've driven this car, you realise it's not. This car is actually a hell of a lot of fun to drive. It's got a 0-60s, as I mentioned in the previous video that I made on this car, of about 6 seconds, and you can definitely feel it. And it's got very direct handling, so you don't have to move the steering wheel much to do corners. So cornering is a lot of fun in this car as well. It is quite long, as any roadster is. The bonnet, driving this car, the bonnet does feel very long. I might do a POV drive at some point, so you'll see what I mean. But to be honest, when you're driving, it doesn't feel that bad. Like a lot of people like when they complain about the Mustang, for example, it doesn't feel as bad as that from what I can gather from people who have driven both, and from personal experience it's not that bad. It's a very sporty cabin. There's not much going on. It's very refined. You do feel very close to your passenger and very close to everything around you, but that just adds to the fun of this car, I think. And I've got a load of bikers behind me, so hopefully that will zoom past so that I can really get a good clear run in the other lane in a minute. Now this car obviously has the 3 modes. You've got comfort, sport and manual. Now I found that comfort is good if you're just driving around some 30-mile-an-hour roads, maybe even up to 40, which we're going to actually pop it in comfort now. And what it just does is the automatic gearbox becomes slightly more sluggish, slightly, not much worse, it's still very powerful, but it reduces the torque, becomes slightly slower to climb the revs, and it sits at a lower rev, so you get better miles per gallon, for example, but we don't really care about that. Then you've got the, well, traditional sport mode, where automatic kickdown comes in and is a lot more powerful, which I'm going to showcase in a minute. And then obviously you've got your manual mode as well, which is like very powerful. So if we just chuck it into sport, we're currently sitting at about 40 miles an hour. We're currently at the national speed limit. Once this little other car goes past, we'll stick it into sport, and I'm going to show you automatic kickdown. So it is very, 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 very fun to drive, I have to admit. Now, in terms of road noise, you're a little bit, being a roadster, it's a bit loud. And that's sometimes nice. You can really hear that exhaust at all times as well, which is nice. And yeah, I have to say this car is wonderful. That V6 definitely growls. It definitely has a very aggressive tone to it. Not so much as a V8 does. But it definitely has that traditional tone, and it's very, very nice. Now, miles per gallon I found aren't too bad as of recording this video. It's not good. It's not as good as, like, for example, your regular commuter car, but you're not going to expect that, really, are you? But it does provide a lot of fun, and it is a car that you can probably put in the miles per gallon category rather than the miles per gallon category, because you do get a lot of fun out of the miles you do get. I've done a few tunnel runs in this, I have to admit, and yeah, you can really hear it purr. I think this is a very nice example. It's got a few things wrong with it, which I'll showcase in another video, but it is very, very, very fun to drive. Let's just get a little bit of a boost here, and I find that another thing about this car is if you have something like an Audi TT or something like that, you get a lot of looks from people, almost going, you know, oh, it's a boy racer, yada, yada, yada. Now, with this car, I found people have actually given more approving looks when I've been driving it, going, yeah, you know what, that's a nice car, and it's much, much better. And you do find a lot of the people maybe middle-aged, they may be in like a nice BMW or something, for example, but they'll always look across and go, yeah, that's good. And there's some other quirks about this car that I'm going to get into that are definitely something very different, and it's more, I'd say, probably around this era of German cars, and that is the fact that, sorry, it's very hot, so I'm going to keep the window open, but is that all the controls for your wipers and your indicators are all on one stalk down here. And I did take a bit of getting used to. The first couple of times I did accidentally click the cruise control stalk and activate cruise control trying to indicate, because I completely forgot from when I'm in the Polo. Speaking of controls, we're going to have to let these lorries, I think, have a bit of a overtaking run that's ahead of me. You can't see it, but there are some. And then what we're going to do is now we're going to just chuck it into manual. We're going to come out into the other lane. We're going to shift down using those paddles that this has. One more, and there you go. That is a lot of torque, a lot of power, and a lot of speed in a short space of time. But being naturally aspirated and not a supercharger or a turbocharger like some cars of this era are, it's all very smooth. You don't have a sudden burst of torque or power higher up the rev range. It's all very much linear from bottom to top, so it's very easy to predict, very easy to control, and it does still give you that a lot of power down the bottom, so you can really get away when you want to, and you can have a lot of fun with this car. I would say, personally, I like having it in manual if I'm going down like a country lane, because you get, obviously with the control, you get to do everything properly, and I actually do really like these buttons. Paddles, I was going to change it. I probably still will do at some point, but I've got used to the buttons and I quite like them. But I think for, you know, sort of dual carriage rail motorway driving or highway driving if you're in America, you definitely do feel as though the automatic sport mode is perfectly enough. We're just going to quickly get a quick boost here and listen to that sing, just so we can come across into another lane. But this car I found is perfectly good for the vast majority of people. It's not expensive, it's very nice, I haven't had any issues with it, and yeah, it's got everything you need. You know, it's not overly, how do you put this, it's not overly sophisticated, it's not got millions of computers or anything, it's very traditional, it's just got the bog standard stuff that you need. People do say that the paddles and the automatic gearbox are a bit sluggish. I do agree. But if you really punch it and you give it what you want, all those beans, like almost full throttle, 80% to full throttle, you definitely do feel it, and it definitely does have that power and that responsibility, that responsiveness and that snappiness that you'd expect from a sports car. Definitely is a traditional sports car in the sense of a two-seater, but it's just nice. It's hard to explain, really. It's just nice. I think it's very well engineered, as you would have heard me explain in the first video I made on this. But in terms of driving experience, it's just as sort of well maintained, you know, well engineered. Everything down to the fine details is well engineered, and that's what I like about this car. I'm glad I bought this over an Audi TT, because the Audi TT is, I don't know, something about it. I like them, but this Mercedes has almost changed my perspective on sports cars and stuff. When I first saw it, I didn't really like it. From the pictures, I thought, is it gonna be what I want? And then when I saw it in person, I turned it on, I heard it start up, and I sort of drove it. I thought, yeah, this is definitely the one for me. It definitely fits my sort of style as well. And yeah, it's all in all very nice. Hopefully we'll be able to get a really good sort of acceleration in a minute when we come back around the corner. With a bit of luck, we'll be able to get a really good acceleration. You guys can really feel it. Now, I don't normally drive with the top up as I am now, and that's because it's summer. I like having the top down, but I'm driving with it up today. And the only pet peeve I have with driving with the top up is where you've got very much like the basic, very refined convertible roof. There's not much padding or sound deadening. Although you can hear all the road noise in the engines, which is nice, you do end up hearing the roof sort of squeak a bit and all the mechanisms in it creak. And it can be a bit annoying at times, but it's all part of the fun, innit? I just love this car. I would say having because obviously there's multiple different versions, right? There's the inline fours, or the very 4 cylinders and that sort of stuff. I do think getting one of the V engines, if you've got enough to go for the SLK280 AMG, which you've got V8, I would, because they're gonna go up in value and they're hella good cars from what I've heard. But I think get a V engine if you can. Don't get a supercharged one. There's less plumbing, so there's less issues to go wrong. It's naturally aspirated, right? But you get a lot more of that torque, that fun out of it, and it's definitely more of a fun car. What I would say. Fuel economy, you get about 34 miles to the gallon in extra urban, which is actually, to be fair, a lot better than you'd get in most sports cars. And this car is just a lot of fun to drive. I obviously have it in automatic. There is a manual version. If you want to get a manual version, get one. But I would say if you can find an automatic with these paddles, or these buttons should I say, definitely get them, because it does give you that extra style of driving that you don't often get. It gives you that extra option when you're driving along. We're going to go a different way today, back round and down here, and it's going to hopefully go really, really well. So we've got a clear run. Up to 40. Now, I'm going to slow it right down here because there's no one behind me. And we're going to show automatic kick down, because it gives you something a little like this. Right up to 6,500 RPM. Right where you want to be in one of these cars. Very snappy, very responsive, very, very predictable, and very, very reliable. It's just absolutely brilliant, absolutely beautiful. And this car's suited, I'd say, for everything. It's a bit like I mentioned with the Polo once before. I said with the Polo that you could go to Tesco's or you could go to a 5-star hotel and no one would bat an eyelid. This car is very much in that same sort of, there you go, automatic kick down, kicking you up the revs. Very much in that same bracket, I suppose. Like, I've driven this to college and taken my friends out for spins, and you know, they think it's a really cool sports car. But if you were in a suit and you wanted to turn up, you turn up in an Audi TT, you might look like a bit of a I don't know what it is. It's hard to explain. You might look like a bit out of place, let's say. But if you turned up in this Mercedes with the leather interior and all the nice, refined interior and all the bells and whistles of this car in a suit, you look good. If you turn up in a polo shirt and shorts like I'm in right now, you don't look out of place in this car. This car just sort of works, I suppose. And that's just an ode to Mercedes and just how good Mercedes are, especially in this era. They definitely knew what they were doing with this car. Ah, fuck. Here we go again. Oh, yes, 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 yes. A million times yes. What a car. We're going to be going down a place called the Long Furlong. So you may see it on the internet. There's some videos and photos of it. It's very narrow. It's a 2-lane road. It's a bit of fun though. We're going to go down it. We're going to take this and we're going to really have a look at what it's got. I've done some proper, let's say spirited driving. Joyride, spirited driving. Better word for this car, suits this car better. But I've done some in it and I can confirm it holds up very well. And that's where the steering comes in, I think, especially. I would say everybody who has been in my car, this one with me, have all said, wow, what a great car that you've got. You know, like, it's a really good car. They didn't believe that I got it for the price I got it as well. And they all really like it, and I think it's just a lot of fun. I think the fact that it's a hardtop convertible as well gives it that extra sort of level of coolness, I suppose. The only thing I would sort of change probably on this car is the brakes. Now they're perfectly snappy. Don't get me wrong. Oh yes, really does still kick you back in your seat. I would say though the brakes. Now I'm going to be changing them on my car at some point. There'll be a video on that at some point soon. But I'm going to put new brakes in it because these ones, they might just be the fact they're old, but they're a little bit weird at times. They can feel they don't feel spongy, but they don't feel as snappy as modern brakes. If you're coming from a modern car, you do want to take it into account, keep that in perspective. There are a lot of aftermarket options which I'm going to be doing, which are like race discs or track, you know, like sort of high sport discs and pads, which are hopefully going to fix that issue. That's the one thing I would keep in mind. I'm going to make a video on what you need to do with like a used car, for example, what you should do to a car. But this car does have some of the very basic features like heated seats, which we're never going to use in the summer. And it does have air conditioning. I haven't really used it, apart from the heater if it's the evening when I've got the roof down. This one doesn't have air scarf, so I can't really talk about that, but everyone seems to think that's really nice. So air scarf, you know, you can have that in there. This doesn't have parking sensors that some of them do. I could retrofit them, but I really don't care, like parking sensors. If you're a good enough driver, you wouldn't need parking sensors anyway. But anyway, yeah, for driving this car, I will say it's absolutely wonderful. And I think, you know, the sound you get from this is almost sensory overload. Like, you don't have to be doing much in this car to really, how do you put it? You don't have to be doing much in this car to have fun in it. So, you know, in some cars you have to be going sort of 80, 90 mile an hour to really feel like you get an adrenaline rush. In a convertible, and it might just be the convertible, but you can really hear that exhaust through the very minimal sound deadening that you get in this car. And being a V6 twin exhaust, very, very, very throaty, you do definitely feel like you're in a sports car. But then it's more comfortable than a sports car as well, and more, it fits in more than some sports cars. I think if I had to take this model over the modern SLK, I would, and I would take this over a lot of modern sports cars as well. I can't talk about Porsches or anything like that because I've been in one, but I've never, you know, driven one. I think a Porsche is different. I'd rather take a modern Porsche to this. Obviously, it's a Porsche. It wouldn't. But like the modern Audi TT, because there's so many rules and regulations now around emissions and what you're allowed to have and what you're not allowed to have, this car wouldn't be possible now than it was 20 years ago. This doesn't feel like a 20-year-old car at all. And I think if they made this car now, it would be 100 times worse. It would probably have a 3-cylinder engine. It wouldn't sing like it does. It wouldn't have half the cool features that it has. It would be less reliable, more flimsy, and just not as fun. But I just can't get enough of that lovely sound. Even at 2,000 revs, it sounds nice, and under load, it sounds absolutely beautiful. I'm hoping you guys can hear the engine sounds because they just sound so good. But yeah, I think if you want a cheap sports car, get one of these. You won't regret it. They're absolutely perfect for what most people want, for what most people would ask for, but not many people will pick up on them, so they're quite cheap. They're quite cheap to insure as well if you're a younger driver, because most people who own them are older, right? So there's not much data, so in the UK especially you can get better insurance rates. But I love this car so much, and it was a really good buy. We're going to come up to a nice corner here, and yeah, you can just throw this car into the corner. I'm probably turning maybe to the 10 o'clock position on the steering wheel, and I was doing a pretty sharp corner, and obviously being rear wheel drive as well. If you kick this car about a bit, you do feel very sporty. It does feel a little bit loose, you know, it feels like it grips the road well, so you're not going to fly and slide out on every given opportunity, but it does feel a little bit more fun to drive, a little bit more snappy, a bit more exciting than a front wheel drive would, like the Audi TT for example, which isn't going to be as fun. And you can really kick this car about. I haven't tried to do any burnouts or anything in it. I'm not good at it, obviously, being a young driver, so I'm not really going to try. But yeah, this car is just so much fun. Like, I'm absolutely, you know, you can get some. That was such a nice corner there, easy to take, easy on the throttle, and it just moves. It's all so smooth, so predictable that you can drive how you want without being worried that you're gonna like lose control. And if you know how to drive moderately well and how to moderately have fun in the car, this is the perfect car, because it's just fun. I mean, I love it, and when I do a POV drive, hopefully I can show it a little bit, showcase what it can do a little bit better. But for a review, I think I would give this car a solid 8 out of 10. I think there are some things with this car that aren't good. If you found a perfect model, you spent a bit more than I did, you could get a really nice one. There wouldn't be any issues. But for driving, 10 out of 10, hands down, 10 out of 10 for the power and the steering and the weight ratio. This car, they've set it up perfectly. You know, you can really give it beans. start so nice every time. My camera just overheated, so I had to give it a little bit of a time to pick up. But having that much torque and paddle, along with automatic kickdown, enables you to be able to do stuff like this. Flipping heck, that is just so much fun. It sort of tells you, you want to go? Okay, let's go. It makes you think about it for a second. It goes, you sure you want to do this? And then it goes, alright, time's up, you've had to make your decision, you still want to do it, let's go. Bang, and it's off. It's flying, you know. And that sound in the exhaust sounds so good. It's just amazing. It's heavy to steer at low speeds, right? That's the only other thing I would warn you. Low speeds, like in a car park, it's quite heavy to steer. But as you get up to speed, that steering just sort of improves and becomes perfect. So yeah, I would say from a sort of comfortability, probably looking at about 6 out of 10. Okay, so it's not incredible. I think the suspension is probably that, but that's a sports car, right? You're not expecting it to be a comfortable car. In terms of price to performance in this car, I would say a solid 9 out of 10. You're not going to get this much performance for the price that I pay for this in any other style of car. And that's because these just dropped value so quick for some unknown reason. Nobody seems to really know why. But they're just so much fun. They're analog, you know, there's not much going on. There's not many computers to stop you from doing anything that you want to do. And there's no warnings. You know, you can open your windows, you won't get aerodynamic drag issues. You know, warning coming up on the dash, or a warning for flipping some sign going wrong, or you know, some camera going wrong in the car. Now it's quite wide if you've come from a smaller sort of hatchback, but not crazy wide in the slightest. I mean, in conclusion, I would say, if we're concluding this video, go out and buy one if you want a sports car for the summer. Even if you get sort of 50 drives out of it before you want to change it, you'll have got your money's worth, because it's so much fun to take out and drive. It's not necessarily cheap to run, don't get me wrong, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. I would say, yeah, go out and get one, enjoy yourself. You only live once. Have some fun with these cars. And go and get yourself a cheap sports car that you're not worried about, because if you had a 50 grand Porsche, you'd be worried about how you were driving it and whether you were ruining it or not. With one of these 20-year-old cars, you can have a bit of fun. No one ever has to worry about it. Alright, thank you all so much for watching today's video. Hope you would enjoy. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe. You know the rest. Everyone on social media communities times, I am sure. But yeah, see you all in the next
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.